Every
Yeah, I
time
wonder how those guys look now, Doug.
more like us. Well, and every time I let somebody in, it freezes things up for a while as the host. So I apologize for the slow slide transition there.
Not a problem.
So there was a Chinese general way back when, I don't know when the years that he was around. I actually had to have the book, The Art of War. But Sun Tzu, General Sun Tzu said, if you know the enemy and know yourself, you need not fear the result of 100 battles. Now, what's important about that is if you take that to today and put it in a revised business version, it would be this: know your competition and know yourself. In 100 battles, you will never be in peril. When you're ignorant of the competition but know yourself, your chances of winning and losing are equal. If you're ignorant of both your competition and yourself, you are certain in every battle to be in peril. I think it's a key thing to understand that part of why the growth gears explains that you, or not explains, but tells you why one should know yourself and know your company is you have to know your strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. And so the thing I was going to share here that Richard went into that I missed as a younger person when I did SWOT analyses, I did not understand as well that the opportunities and threats need to be external to the organization. So the internal to the company, but the opportunities and threats need to be external, but strengths and weaknesses are internal, just like Richard described in his SWOT analysis. Give you some examples that I'll run through here briefly. A lot of companies think they've got great people in training. That can be a strength, that's internal. A weakness may be you've got a product or offering you don't know how to explain. You can't do the 30-second elevator pitch, let alone the 15-second elevator pitch on your product or service. But externally, maybe there's high unemployment. You need to hire people, but the unemployment rate is high, so it's hard to get good people. And then finally, maybe you're in some utopian business where there is no competition, so that's going to be a great external opportunity. So that's just very simple SWOT analysis. Richard did a great job of explaining it, and it works both for people, for ourselves, for our careers, as well as for the company or business you work with. Now, for some company trends, things have been changing, especially in the B2B world. So in the last, probably up until about 2018, the current state for B2B companies in particular was that most of the input they learned about their customers came from the field. They were very reactive. And as far as the sales funnel goes, you see here on the screen, marketing was responsible for driving awareness and interest, and sales pushed the consideration, intent, evaluation, and purchase. Well, now in 2020, I forgot the exact number, but 60 to 70% of most people that are searching for anything online are already down to the evaluation stage. So that's putting more onus on marketing to own not just awareness and interest, but also consideration and intent, so that then the sales team can work on the evaluation and purchase part. So to get to where you can understand all that and know what's coming at you, you need to look to the future, you need to study industry data, you need to look at customer trends, and need to think about being more proactive than reactive. So that's just an insight for all companies that technology is indeed changing our business, and if it wasn't changing enough already, COVID just expedited that change. So 5 key questions you want to ask yourself is about competition. Is who are your top 5 competitors? Who's better than you? What are you better than that? What is your plan specifically? Are you going to attack them, defend them, avoid them, etc.? And simple charts like this make it very easy. So just write down your 5 competitors, write down the things that you do better, write down the things where they are better. I haven't worked for a company yet that we didn't think that everything we did was better and everything the competition did was bad. So you've really got to be objective and truthful with yourself. You need to be intellectually honest, as I like to say. And then taking a slide aside, talking about looking outside the window, checking marketing trends in particular, here's a chart of the 30 technologies of the next decade. You see AI is number 1 all the way to number 30, which is talking about new screens that may come our way. It's important to understand that the vast majority of technologies are web-enabled, and there are 5.6 billion, that's B with a billion, B as in billion, Google searches every day. And there are still, even though Facebook seems to be losing its luster, there's 2.4 billion Facebook users and 500 million LinkedIn users out there. The other thing that's become very important, which is why a lot of companies go, gee, we need to hire a Facebook person or social media person, because content management is critical for all companies. 86% of all companies engage in content management, and yet 70% lack a consistent strategy. And then finally, that's important because content management is 3 times more effective than paid. So how often have you scheduled a strategy meeting and the first 45 minutes of the 60 minutes were left to or fires and things you had to do to deal with the business today and yesterday, et cetera, and you got to the end and go, wow, 10 minutes left, let's do the strategy. Strategy obviously is much important than 10 minutes, and it's important to understand that strategy needs to happen because it's you don't want to do a ready, fire, aim. You want to ready, aim, fire. So speaking of the strategy gear, the effectiveness gear, we'll talk about markets, offering, and positioning. Here's another quote from General 2. Strategy without tactics is the slowest route to victory. And that's basically what companies that engage in random acts of marketing do. Tactics without strategy is the noise before defeat. So just understand that tactics have to be born from strategy. Some basic market questions you might want to ask yourself for running your company is like, is the market that we're in, is this how we want to grow, or are there other markets we should look at? If so, what do we need to make it happen with our current market, or what do we need to do if we want to go into different markets? How do you measure your segment trends? You need to find a way. You can be proactive. Like Chief Outsiders, we're associated or have a partnership with ITR Economics. We get some great economic trends from them. I've been a member of the marketing executive group of the National Restaurant Association, so I get a lot of information from that association about restaurants. There are just different ways that you should be able to find out data, even if you don't want to pay for or can't afford to pay for research, especially for startup companies. Then finally, how does the strategy reflect what we've learned about our customers, competitors, and our company in the insights gear?
Hey, Doug?
Yeah.
Quick question. You know, we all talk a lot about strategy, and I've come to realize over the years that an awful lot of people, you know, might understand the word, but they don't understand the meaning. Could you give us a little bit of a definition as to what strategy means to you?
That's a great question, Jim, because I'll answer it 2 ways. One is one of my challenges when I've been on the other side of the desk, if you will, in a brand position is that it's all too often somebody asks, what are your content management strategy? What's your mobile strategy? What's your digital strategy? What's your advertising strategy? What's your whatever strategy? Like, how many strategies can you have? So in my mind, one should have a business strategy, and then a market or marketing strategy should fit the business strategy. The strategy needs to be born from the data you learn from studying your customers, competition, and your company. And then a strategy basically lays out in so many words how you want to make that happen. There are different ways to word strategies. And I guess I'd leave it at that for now. Would you want to add to that at all? What's your definition of strategy?
Yeah, one of the best definitions that I ever came across was, you know, essentially strategy is how you prioritize the use of your resources in a way to gain a competitive advantage. And resources, of course, would be financial resources, human resources, capital resources, and, you know, intellectual property resources, which a lot, you know, gets back to your strength. But essentially, it's strategy is about how do you prioritize the use of your capabilities to gain a competitive advantage. Right.
Yeah, I'd go with that. I frequently in earlier years, strategies were sometimes written like our marketing strategy was to, see if I can remember one from the past, to attract 25 to 54-year-old families to, you know, eat lunch at Firehouse Subs or whatever. They're more sophisticated than that. But that's exactly right, because if you hone in on a target and some other things that help you prioritize your resources, that is the key to a strategy. So thank you for that. All right, so moving on, I want to talk about market strategy. So how do you get into a market? So, and now it says my internet is unstable. Can you guys hear me okay?
Yes.
Okay, thank you, Arletha. So this is a simple another four-part grid that we like to use. As you can tell, on the bottom are products and services for current product and new product or service on the lower two. On the left side, or the vertical axis, is for customers for current and new. And so it basically describes how you want to go about approaching the market or markets you want to put your product or service in. So if you're going after current products with current customers, you need to differentiate to a point. You may be able to improve your existing products and services. If you want to go into new markets, it may be entering new segments, or you may expand geographically. If I come down to the bottom right, it's about adding a new product or service that you'll sell to your current customers. Then finally, in the upper right is totally new. So a new product, new segment, new everything, which honestly is the most risky of all the particular market growth strategies, but it can also reap the best rewards if you do it properly. So let me give you some examples. Let's say you're a wine glass manufacturer. You sell wine glasses to consumers, you sell small ones, and you sell big ones. You might decide that to get more business, you want to enter a new market. So, hey, let's sell wine glasses to restaurants. So now you're going to have a B2B component to your deal, and that's your new segment, your new market. You've gone into the business world, not just selling wine glasses to consumers. Now, what might you also sell to your customers that buy your wine glasses? How about wine accessories like wine racks and corkscrews and things? And then finally, and this is where the stretch comes, what if you decide that you're so good at making glass? You've got the best wine glasses in the world. You can prove it. You've been making glass in your family for 150 years. Maybe we could sell to scientific labs and sell beakers and test tubes and things. Does that all make sense to you guys? That could work for a company, but if they do it wrong, it can be really, really bad. All right, another example, more close to my home while I was at Firehouse Subs, is that we sold subs. As we grew during that 10-year time period, we grew into more states, okay? Simple enough. We also, at some point, and it's been more important for restaurants during the COVID pandemic, obviously, is adding delivery is another segment in the restaurant business. So there are different ways to add segments in different industries. We also added new products. The beef and cheddar brisket was a product we added that sold well, still sells well today. And that was something that was a new product to new customers because it was a little more male focused. There's a little fine line between the normal Firehouse customer and that particular eater, but it was still different and it helped increase sales. Now, what might a restaurant company in particular, or Firehouse Subs, do to encourage new customers? One way might be to add salads. All right, they did that. A lot of restaurants do this. If you've been watching any kind of restaurant marketing for the last 30 years, you've seen McDonald's and Wendy's and different companies add salads. That's what they call adding a product for veto vote. But it really was adding a product to get a new product for new customers because it would theoretically appeal to the dieters or the females or some demographic that would make sense to go after. Now, in Firehouse Subs' case, that wasn't much of a stretch because they do sell salads today. What if they decided they wanted to sell rice bowls? They've got steamers in their restaurant. They use steamers to heat meat and cheese, to put it on the toasted bread with the fresh vegetables, etc., to make a great tasting hot sub. But rice bowl might be a stretch. And then finally, new product, new market. The firefighter co-founder brothers, they were firefighters. Their father was a firefighter 40 years. They've got firefighting in their history. They know firefighting. What if they decide to start selling turnout gear? That'd be a new product to a new customer, but probably a really bad idea. Any questions so far? Make sense? All right, so this is a good exercise we like to take new clients through. Something you can do in a workshop. Might ask any of you, when we look at that grid, like the first question we ask is, where will your growth come from? So a CEO might say, I want to grow 4% next year. And we'll say, where do you hope that growth is going to come from? And through a lot of soul searching and thinking, they may say, I'm going to get 1% from my current customers and current products. I'm going to enter some new markets, so that should bring us 1%. And finally, I'm going to get 2% by getting some new products to our current customers. So very simple process. You just have to think through it. But that's how you determine growth. And as you noticed, the market and the offerings are very similar as we walk through this process.